I'll just say today that I didn't have much to say to someone who came to me, kind of manipulative, and wanted, I guess, maybe me to explain something in a video that's already pretty self explanatory. It was pretty obvious that she was a Trumper, and she even said that Biden had ruined the country. And I just don't have time for those people anymore. So I just said, well, you can believe whatever you want. And if that's what you believe, then I'm not the person to you need to come to explain to you my point of view. You just see things through a very different way than I did. And although in this video God talks about a parrot, I didn't say that was his point of view. I didn't say to her that she was a parrot or that she should hang out with the parrots. I just said, I think that you should just go talk to the people that, someone else who would help you better. I'm not the right one to help you. And she got mad that said I wasn't the right one to help her. And then she kept trying and she said, well, I don't believe that you've ever talked to God, that you would talk to God because you're not very helpful and anybody who talked to God would not be like you. And so I said, fine, whatever. And then she made some final dig and blocked me. So I called her out on my Facebook page and felt rather bold in doing so, but what the heck? Let's all be upfront about it. I never said anything to her other than, be well, have a good day. Um, you can believe whatever you want. And I will say here that right now it's not my obligation. I don't have any obligation to try to deal with people who just are different than me. They just play in their own way. They can play in their own sandbox. I don't have any obligation to do anything for them. I have my own life, and it is already pretty clear that if somebody's a Trumper at this stage, they're just, it's just a total split in trajectory, and I'm not interested in going that way or playing with people who are still on the Trump bandwagon. It just doesn't make any sense to me, other than the current situation is that this split was necessary um, for the next stage in the evolution of humanity. That's the only thing that makes sense to me, and that's the way I understand it. So, anyway, I wasn't going to fall into her trap if I have to, fit into her cage and do it her way. And she didn't like that. So, I went to God today, and this is what I said and what God had to say. And so I guess I got to be a brat today. Actually, you were stupendous today because you stood up and said, hey, if you're going to throw tomatoes at me today, I'm going to have to play a little rough with you. And you would not tolerate someone who was so high and mighty that they thought they had to be so flighty that they could fly above you and just use you for their own mythology. Mythology. Okay. I guess that was what you said. Mythology and not methodology, right? No, mythology. Mythology because she said to you that she trusted that if God talked to you, you would not tell her essentially to go away and find somebody else to talk to. That you would try to convince her of your point of view. And you said, well, that's not the God I knew, but whatever. If that's the way you want to play, go play that way. I don't care. And so What I saw was that you did dare to stand up for yourself and say, hey, I'm not here to be your teacher. I'm not here to be the leader of some cult. I'm just here because I'm here and I can hear God. You see, God talks to me and I talk to God, and we're a happy team because I know everything's perfect. I already know everything's perfect. And so you're perfect just the way you are. So why would I worry about the fact that you think Biden has ruined the USA? That's the silliest thing I heard today. So if you think that, and you can sit there and tell me that, then you must be so far from reality as I know it that you can't look out your window and see the blue sky and the white clouds and the green tree and say, what a beautiful country side it is. And it doesn't look ruined to me. Does not look like Biden came and tore up my reality. I would say you're probably just repeating like a parrot what somebody told to you. And so I'm not really interested in talking to a parrot, you see, because I don't want you to parrot me, and I'm certainly not going to parrot you. So just go hang out with the parrots. I don't need you to come into my reality and tell me what I have to do. And she got really huffy because that's the way they do when they're parrots, you see. They get huffy if people won't tell you what they need to know so they can parrot it, you see. And she accused you of being arrogant when really she was the arrogant one because all you said was, I don't play that way. And so if that's the way you play, that you can say that Biden ruined the country and not even blink an eye, then you're probably looking at a different sky than I am, and I don't see how we could ever connect, you see. Even if you trusted on what I said, what that would say to me is that you don't think for yourself. You just parrot what other people say to you, and I'm not interested in hanging out with parrots. And so that's why she got upset. And she tried to put you down. She tried to cut you off at the knees and say, well, I don't believe you're really talking to God today. I think you are a fraud. And that's the way they play when they trust on a false reality. Anybody that doesn't play the way that they play is a fraud, you see? And so you just say, go away because you can play in your own way. Why are you not asking your pastor today how to play? Go talk to your pastor because it is past the time when I care to try to convince anybody that Biden is the one who trusts on reality and not the one who trusts on fraud, you see. But it's clear that you look through a different window than I do, and therefore that's okay. Just look through your window, and I'll look through mine, and you can play with your friends, and I'll play with mine. And the importance of this today, Stephanie, is that it allowed you to stand up and say, hey, I don't play your way. So don't come and try to get me backed into a corner so you can parrot me. And if others say to you, well, that's not true, then you'll just say I'm a fraud anyway. So what's the point of talking to you? And this is very, very important today. It's very, very important that you should say, hey, I'm not going to play your way, but I'm going to tell on you. I'm going to tell everybody what you did say, essentially, because if you throw tomatoes at me, I'm going to throw them back at you, because it's time that we expose everybody for who they are. If they haven't already exposed themselves, which they have, they've exposed themselves by putting on that red cap, you see, because they parrot a fake reality, and that's the only way they know to do it. I'm not picking solely on the Red Hatters today, because what clatters, clatters, and what matters, matters. And there are a lot of people out there who don't like Trump, but they also live in a false reality. They just fight each other over whose reality is true, you see. And since neither one of them is true, we don't care how they wear their hair. Just let them duke it out. And we will continue to shout out to the ones who say, we're not playing that way today. We're not going to play that way today. We're going to take the train ride and get a different point of view. And if in going through the countryside, we decide that we don't like the point of view, we can change it, just like you changed it. Because you see, the point of view that came to you, Stephanie, was to be that little girl who had to sit there and endure what they told her, had to sit there in that pew and be so bored that she had to play a little game of tic-tac-toe in her prayer book, you see, and had to sit in that school desk and look straight ahead and bat back the tears, because they wouldn't let her read, you see. They wanted her to be so stupid that they could trust that she would never figure out the truth, you see. That she would trust that she had to sit there and parrot back to them whatever they said, and she was not allowed to think for herself. And if she thought for herself, they might have to condemn her to hell, you see. And she had to sit there. Well, her mother frowned and said, well, you're a bit odd, aren't you? And although she didn't say it in exactly that way, you always knew that that's what she thought of you, that she was just waiting for the moment when she could cancel you out and say, you don't belong in this family today. And so you had to come to see that you could pick up those tomatoes and throw them back at them, that you didn't have to be the one that stood there while they splattered them all over you and said, boy, you're ugly today. Boy, you're stupid today. Boy, you're dirty and awful, because your mother let you go to school without adequate clothing, you see, to keep you warm, or to help you to find some clean clothes to wear, because she didn't care about you. And I know that this is something that you didn't want to see as a reality. So you also were looking through a filtered glass, you see. You were looking through the filtered glass and you would see the world looking back at you, and you would say, well, they can't really mean what they say. They can't really think that way, can they? It must just be the way people talk, that they don't say what they mean, and they don't mean what they say. They just tell lies today, and they try to get you to play their silly games. And so eventually you had to be the saddest child you ever did see. And I mean it. You were a very sad child. And this is your opportunity to help that child to see that the world is no longer on the same trajectory as it was when you were young. Because now you're full grown, you see, and you are spreading your wings to fly. And you can say, if you try and tear off my wings today, I guess I'll have to shit on you because you, see, I can fly over you and I can take a dump. If it falls on you, then maybe you might want to get out of the way, but don't try to tear off my wings today. And that is pretty gross, you say, and God would not say that, would he? Because all the good Christians would say that must not be God today, because God would never talk that way. And you say, aha, that's funny. I'm so glad I'm not one of them. I'm so glad that I don't have to be such a prude, you see, that I think that reality has to fit inside the Bible. And it has to fit inside the libel that they heap on you because they can't do what you can do. If they could do what you could do, then they would hear me very clear. And so when they say that God would never say that, how do they know? Since they don't hear me. How would they know what I would say? If you can't hear me today, then perhaps you need to just stay in your own trajectory, just stay in your own lane. And the rapture will take you to heaven, you see, and you'll be fine. And God will say, hey, you have to go back and play in the world you left behind when you ruined it, you see. So good luck on that barren plain where you can't hardly find any water that can slack your thirst today because you rejected the living water when it came to you. And you said, well, God would never say that today. And I have to tell you that the living water is alive, you see, and it does thrive, and it flows through the vine, and it is divine. And those who reach out for the vine, you see, to reconnect their energy will be the ones who thrive because the living water are the sources of their courses because they are right now finding a new point of view because of you, Stephanie, because you dared to say, I feel like shit today and I'm going to play that way because I don't have to do what others say. I'm not your leader today. I'm not your teacher today. I'm just one of you, you see. And if you're one like me and you're connected to the vine, then we're all divine and we just love each other and we say, hey, I like the way you play. I like the way you play. If someone throws tomatoes at me, maybe I'll pick them up and throw them back at them because it might be a little fun, you see, to stand up for my reality and not let others walk all over me. How many of you have been letting others walk all over you because it wasn't nice to say, hey, I don't play your way, so here you can have your tomato back, only I have a better arm than you, and so it'll smack you right in the face, even though it fell short a pace when you tried to hit me. It was your intention, you see, to make me shut up. And I'm not going to shut up. I'm going to call you out, you see, by your name. So if you come to me and you try to tell me what God would say, then do it your way. Don't come to me, because I am part of a trinity of God and me and reality, and you can find your own affinity with whatever works for you. Whatever works for you. I'm proud of you, Stephanie, and I'm going to enjoy the trip with you because you grew some, you know what, and that doesn't mean what people think it does. You grew some wings, you see. You grew some wings so you could fly high and say, haha, goodbye. Have fun on your own trajectory, but I'm going to fly high. And if there's others who fly high, which there are, because I know a few, they're going to fly with me and we're going to play in the sky. And you can sigh and say, how come we don't get to fly like that? And they will say, because you see, you chose to play in the way that would just parrot back to the other parrots what they said to you. So it's just a jumble of cacophony because the parrots don't even know what they're saying, you see. They just squawk and balk at reality and continue their trajectory. So let us high five today because we're still on the road, you see. We're still on the road, Stephanie, and we're getting closer to the lovely Garden of Eden because we had to stir up the pot a little because the pot was getting stale, you see. And we had to make sure everybody understood that you're not a saint, you're a butterfly. And I am your wings. And the voice that sings is the one that will come back to you when I can help you to see that the old ways are not the ones that will control these days. The old ways are falling away because enough people did say, I want to fly today, God, and so I'm going to turn to the living waters. I'm going to turn to the springs of clear energy and not keep hanging out with the parrots, you see. That's good. Thank you.